Or now we're going to be looking at volume. Volume is basically the space inside a figure. So for question number 21, I'll be working today up until 26. So for question 21, it says find the volume in yards cubed of the sphere in the diagram below. Round your answer to the hundreds. So that's two decimal places. Okay, so let's remember what's the formula for the volume of a sphere. The and then we find out that we remember that the volume, the formula, is going to be 4 times radius 3 times. So 4 times radius times radius times radius times pi. Right? I call it radius 3 times because the formula says radius cubed, so radius to the third power. And all of this is going to be divided by 3. Okay, so I want to grab my calculator and I'm just going to go, the radius is 7.3. So I'm just going to type in 4 times 7.3 times 7.3 times 7.3 times pi. Now, pi, we can use the pi symbol or we can use the 3.14. Let's say this time I'm going to use a 3.14 for pi, and all of this I'm going to divide it by 3. And I'm going to round it to 2 decimal places. According to my calculator, let's see, I get 1,628.684. Okay, the third decimal place is small, so I'm going to ignore this. So my answer is going to be 1,628.68. Now, if you guys did use the pi symbol instead of 3.14, if you use the pi symbol, your answer should be 1,629.51. Okay, I'm going to say both answers just in case you're checking on your calculator as well. Okay, that's not bad. Let's take a look at question number 2. Find the volume of the sphere below inscribed in a cube. Okay, inscribed. What does inscribed mean? Inscribed basically means that it's touching the sides. So up here, like this highest point is touching the top of my cube, the bottom point, and on the sides as well. So that's what inscribed means. So it's touching the corners, touching the sides. Okay. So it's inscribed in a cube with an edge length of 24 units. Round your answer to the nearest hundredth if necessary. Okay. So I'm going to use the idea of inscribed and the idea that the whole side is 24 of the cube, because that means that halfway, if the whole thing is 24, I want to say the half is going to be 12. And the half is basically going to give me my radius. So now I have the radius of the sphere. I remembered, I just gave you guys right now that the volume was 4 times radius times radius times radius times pi. All of this divided by 3. So I'm just going to go 4 times 12 times 12 times 12 times. Now in this case, let me use the pi symbol. You can use 3.14 to double check. I'm going to use the pi symbol, and all of this is divided by 3. I'm going to type it in like this. On the calculator I gave you guys in Canvas, you guys can type it in as a fraction. So it is fine. You can type this as a fraction. So again, I'm going to use the pi symbol. According to my calculator, I get 7,238.229. My third decimal number is big. My 5 or more is big, 4 or less is small. So because it is big, it pushes the previous number up. So my 2 is going to become a 3. So I'm just going to say my answer is 7,238.23. Again, you guys can double check on your calculator. So that's what I got. Now, if you use 3.14 instead of the pi symbol, if you use 3.14, your answer should be 7,234.56. Okay. Again, some cases, if you notice, question number one, I use 3.14 for pi. Question number 22, I use the pi symbol. I'm going to be switching back and forth when possible, just to show you guys that it doesn't matter which one you choose. Now, when I don't have pi, well, I don't have much of a choice. For example, here, number 23, find the volume of a rectangular prism with the length of 4 miles. So I see the length right here is 4 miles. The width is going to be 8 miles, and the height is going to be 5 miles. So what's the volume of that? Okay, I remember for the area of a prism, I had to get the area of the base. So I see at the bottom it's a rectangle. It's an 8 by 4 rectangle. So I'm gonna get the area of the base. So remember, volume is the area of the base, and then I multiply this by the height. So in this case, I'm gonna go 8 times 4. That's gonna give me the base, and then whatever I get, I'm gonna multiply this by 5 because it is the height. So area of the base times the height. So my calculator, I'm just gonna type in 8 times 4 times 5. I'm just gonna do it all at once. So 8 times 4 times 5, according to my calculator, I get 160. Now I emphasize in the formula that it's the area of the base, and in my case, it's a rectangle, because what if my prism is a triangular prism? So I have to get the area of the triangle times the height. What if I have a cylinder where the area of the base is a circle? Well, the area of the base times the height. So I emphasize is area of the base times height. In this case, my base is a rectangle. Now let's move on to question number 24. See, Scarlett has a swimming pool with a radius of 12 feet. At the moment, the pool is filled. Let me actually draw this because it has a radius of, it must be in a circular pool. So I'm gonna say that's a circle, and then the radius is 12. So Scarlett has a swimming pool with a radius of 12 feet. At the moment, the pool is filled up to a height of 15 feet. Okay, so let me just bring up the pool. Let me bring this up. And I'm gonna say the height is 15. How much water is in Scarlett's pool? If necessary, round to the nearest hundred. Okay, so I'm gonna see it. That's the area of the base. As I remember, volume is the area of the base times height. So the area of the base is a circle. The base is a circle. So I have to get the area of the circle. So I'm gonna go, I remember area of a circle is radius squared times pi. So I'm just gonna go 12 times 12 times, let me use the pi symbol. The area of the base is 12 times 12 times pi. And then whatever I get, I'm gonna multiply by the height. So I'm gonna multiply this by 15. So I'm just going to type it all already in my calculator. 12 times 12 times pi. I am using the pi symbol. You can use 3.14. I'm using the pi symbol times 15. According to my calculator, I get 6,785.840. Even though I was asked to run it to two decimal places, I do take a look at three decimal places just in case my third decimal place changes my answer a little. Okay, now in this case, my third decimal place is small. It's a zero, so I'm just going to ignore it. So my answer is going to be 6,785.84. I use the pi symbol for pi, so that's what I got. If you try it at home and try 3.14 instead of the pi symbol, use 3.14. If you use that, your answer will end up being 6,782.4. Again, you can try it on your calculator. So it would be 6,782.4. Okay, let's take a look at number 25. Find the volume of the Blake cylinder. Note that the figure is not to scale. Okay, well, one thing I remembered, we saw it yesterday. Remember the Cavalier's principle? That this thing looks a little slanted, but according to Cavalier's principle, I'm gonna treat it like a cylinder that is standing up. So I'm just gonna say that the volume of this, it's still gonna be the area of the base times the height. So the base happens to be a circle with the radius 4. So for that one, let's say I'm gonna go, the area of the circle is gonna be 4 times um 4 pi. Let me use 3.14 this time. I could use the pi symbol, but I'm just gonna go 3.14 this time. And whatever I get, I'm gonna multiply by the height, which in this case happens to be 10. So I'm gonna type it in 4 times 4 times 3.14 times 10. And according to my calculator, I get 502.4. Okay. Now, keep in mind, this one doesn't say word to round. I don't see any rounding. If I use a decimal point, I didn't need to round anything. If you use the pi symbol, you will have to round it. And because it doesn't say any word to round, when it's not specified, we round it to 2 decimal places. So in that case, you would have gotten, if you use the pi symbol, you would get 502.65. Okay, let's take a look at number 26, our last question for today. Find the volume of the triangular pyramid given the measures shown. Note that the figure is not to scale. Okay, now first of all, what do I mean with not to scale? Okay, I see a 3 and I see a 7 and I measure probably the 3 is bigger than a 7. People will be like, how can a 3 be bigger than 7? Because it's not drawn to be accurate. It's not drawn to scale. Let's just trust the numbers. Let's not verify. Okay, so the volume of a pyramid. What's the volume of a pyramid? I know for pyramids and cones, I have to get the area of the base times the height, kind of like I do with prisms and cylinders, area of the base times the height, but then I divide it by 3. Okay, that's what we do with pyramids and cones. So in this case, the area of the base is a triangle. I see my triangle at the bottom, and I know for the triangle, I have to go 7 times 3 divided by 2. And that's going to give me my triangle. And then I have to multiply this by 11, which is the height. And then I'm going to divide this by 3. Okay, so 7 times 3 divided by 2. I'm going to type it all in my calculator. I will use parentheses just to separate each area. To be honest, sometimes the parentheses don't matter, but in this case, I'm going to do it just so I know that it's separated. So 7 times 3 divided by 2 inside of parentheses times 11 divided by 3. According to my calculator, this case I'm going to get 38.5. So the volume of this figure, it happens to be 38.5.